we've got a ground plane, we've got the ball, and I'm going to create a new drawing node, and I'm going to call it tone. I'm going to add and close. Again, it came on right on top of the composite. I left mouse click to drag to move it over. And in my X sheet, we see we now have this tone drawing node. And I'm going to paint, and I will do this in the camera view. I'm going to just paint a stroke. I'm going to do this on the line art layer, and I'll use a big brush. So I'm going to take this paintbrush, and I'm going to resize it. If I just draw, we see I've got the blue color selected, and it's just a thin stroke. Let me delete that. So I just did like Control Z or Command Z to get rid of that. I'm going to go to color. I'm going to choose the black, the default black. And I'm going to take this brush tool. I'm going to make it really big. Okay, so I just did Command Z to show you this is the size, Command Z. Now, if I hold it down, I'm going to hold down O, letter O. I've got my stylus activated, and I'm holding down O and dragging. You should be able to do this with the mouse as well. If I hold down O, left mouse drag, that resizes that brush real fast. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to take a stroke, brush stroke, and just go like that. That's not very pretty, or that's not very pretty either. That's good enough. So I've just made my stroke on the line layer of frame 1. And I'm going to take this stroke, I'm going to select it, I'm going to copy it, Command C. I'm going to go to frame 2, Command V to paste it. And again, I need to move it down a little bit. Now I'm going to Command C, go to the next frame, Command V. So I'm adding a tone, and I'm going to do this all the way for the rest of the balls with this tone. So I'm going to go, oops, let me, okay. So I've just created a tone that's going with the ball. That's a tone. But look, that tone is, it's not, I need to make the ball cut the tone, because that tone is going, extending past the shape that it should be just defining. It's extending beyond the ball here. So in the node view, we have a special tool for this called the cutter. So the ball is going to cut the tone so that it's only within the ball regions. Cutter is a real easy and great tool to use. You can find it in the node library here. Now I'm going to widen this timeline view. I'm holding my cursor over the top of this timeline view to get that double arrow. I'm going to left mouse click and drag to widen this a little bit. And hold on a second. Yeah, that allows me to see more here. And so I'm widening this. I'm going to click on the node library. And these are favorite nodes. There's lots of nodes in here that we're not going to look at right now, but under the favorites, a very popular node is the cutter. This is a cutter. So I'm going to click on this and drag up here, and it gives me a cutter node. So the ball, I'm going to take the ball. The ball needs to, we need to see the ball. So I'm going to leave the ball going, this output going into this input of the composite. This, if I remove this, we don't see the ball, right? So we want to see the ball. But I also want to use the ball to cut into the tone. So I'm going to take this ball here at this is a little dot here. This is an output. You can click there, left mouse clicking and dragging, putting it over here. Okay, now the tone, I'm going to take the tone, I'm going to disconnect it from there. I'm going to reconnect it into this cutter here. And now I'm going to take the cutter and plug it in to the node here. Okay, so what we're seeing is the ball just cut the tone, okay? If I disconnect the ball from there, the ball is not cutting the tone. If I reconnect it there, it's cutting the tone. But we don't want to cut this part of the tone. We want to cut this part of the tone. So what I need to do is invert it. And I'm going to click on this little yellow box. The little yellow boxes give you properties for that node. Click on the yellow box and hit invert. and I've just inverted it and I hit close. So now that tone, if I go back to my exposure sheet and I'm going to click on the ball. Now the ball is, it's really under, we're seeing the ball plugged in two ways. We're seeing it plugged in under the tone, but we're also seeing it plugged in over the tone in the cutter. So that's why we're seeing the ball over the tone in my X sheet. The ball is not only over the tone, but it's also under the tone, as we can see in here. But it's seeing it in the X sheet as over because it's going into the cutter, which is over the tone. So now if I go through this X sheet, starting at frame 1 and I hit G, you see I've got that tone there. Okay, and I'm just doing this really messy for the sake of a demo. You guys can be more artistic about all this. I'm going to want to give it a transparency. This tone is solid black. Maybe you want a solid black for your style, but if you want to make it a little bit transparent, under these nodes in the node library, another favorite is a transparency node. So this is the transparency node. I'm going to take this, and to plug it in real easily, I'm going to hold down, it's Alt, it's, let's see, Option. So I'm holding down an Option, click left mouse drag, and it automatically hooks that in. Okay, so now you'll see it got a little transparent. Now, if I want to deactivate the transparency node to see what it would look like without the transparency node, I click on the transparency node, I hit D, and that deactivates that node. A activates it, D deactivates it. Okay, so I'm going to have it on, and right now I'm viewing in what is a draft view. This little icon here is, this flower is the draft view. I'm going to click on this icon to see it in a render view, like what it's actually going to render looking like. So I'm going to click on the render view here, and that's showing me how it would look. Now it's on a black background. What I'm going to do, because this is just black, there's nothing behind the ball. There's a ground down here, which I have not colored. If I go back to the draft view, you'll see it without like the render view. And I haven't colored this ground, so I can do that real quickly. But I'm also going to add a color card. So this is color card. It's another favorite. I'm going to click left mouse, drag the color card, bring it into my node view. I'm going to plug it in under the ground. Now watch, when I render, I've got a white background. I can change the color card here. If I click on the little yellow box, this is properties of the color card, and this is showing me the color. I could double click on that, and maybe I'll give it like a pink background or kind of blue. Let's make it like maybe blue sky or something. And I can close that. So now I have like a blue sky, and let me go ahead. I'm going to quickly color the ground. So I've got the ground layer activated and selected. I'm going to go in the drawing view. There's my ground. I'm going to hide the eyeball. This is showing me the line art, no region line on the color art layer. So back to the line art. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to select it. I've got my selection tool activated. Now there's only one drawing here, so I don't need to apply to all drawings because it's just one drawing. And I'm going to, with my selection tool, select that whole thing there. And I'm going to hit this cute little button next to the light bulb. And now I go to my color art region. I have to hit K, and I see the regions. And I'll just color that ground. As a general rule, do not use these colors of your default palette. This is a default palette that's in here. We would create a whole new palette for colors. That's a whole nother lesson. But for now, just for the demo, I'm using colors that are in the default palette. I do not recommend this for your projects. So I'll just take green, and I'll use my Paint Unpainted. There we go. So now we've got here's the draft view, here's the render view. This is what it's looking like, okay? So now I have a tone on my ball. I have K activated, which is showing vectors, so let me hit K to unshow the vectors, and this is what we have. So we've got my ball, and if I go to the timeline, I can scrub using the cursor here. It's much slower in the render view to move between frames because it's rendering. I'm hitting G real fast and it's not catching up. It's really slow. Okay, because it's the render view, and we're not even seeing the tone here because the tone, I didn't cycle the tone drawings. So as you can see, I have not yet cycled the tone drawings, but where we see the numbers in the exposure sheet, we are seeing the tone. So what I want to do though, this tone is looking really crisp. I want to blur it. So I'm going to go back to my node view, and I'm going to add now under this tone. First, I'm going to left mouse click drag to select all these and move them up a little bit. Now I'm going to add a blur. So back to my node library. This blur, this is a favorite. This blur is a Gaussian blur. This is a good blur. I'm going to take this, left mouse drag it over here. I'm going to hold my Option key. If you're PC, it should be Alt. Just hold it down, left mouse drag, and it automatically plugged it in to my my tree here. This is a node tree, so I automatically plugged it in by holding the Option key, left mouse dragging. I could disconnect it by holding down the Option key, left mouse drag, and disconnecting it. So this is a nice, quick way to connect your nodes. Now this blur node is not showing any blur yet. So what I need to do is click on the little yellow box. This is where the options are. And I'm going to give it some blurriness. Let's see what happens if I type in 5. I'm going to hit 5 and say close. And we see that's a nice blur. So it's giving me a pretty good blur, but maybe it's too much. So let me go again. Let's change this to maybe 2. Yeah, that might be more what I want. So the whole point here is I'm showing you how to start building a node tree and using some of the nodes to get some really cool effects real fast and easy. So here we go. Got a nice little blur there. All right, so now you can see my blur is going over, especially if I give the blur a higher number. Like if I give the blur a 5, you'll see the blur is going beyond the ball. It's creating a little gray outside the ball. That's not good. So I need to use a cutter for that. So let's go ahead. Let's move all these up. I'm going to create another cutter under my blur here. And I'm going to use the ball again to cut the blur. So I'm going to take the ball, plug it in to my cutter over here, take this Gaussian blur, put it into the cutter here, put it here. You see what I'm doing? I'm making all these connections, and I'm working kind of fast because I've done this already. I already showed you the cutter here. So plugging the ball in here, taking the Gaussian blur. Whoops, let's open this. Let me make it small again. Sometimes you click on something and it's like confusing, like, oh, what did I just do? It's just a view. I hit that arrow, so I was showing like the whole composite view here. Let me just close it again with this arrow. Disconnect that, put it into the cutter. Now plug in the cutter and hit in. I need to invert. So I'm going to go here, to the yellow box, get the option to invert. There we go. So now the blur is only affecting what's inside the ball because the ball is now cutting the Gaussian blur.